I'm the Business Development Manager at BuzzSumo. This is the second in our series of 20-minute webinars devoted to topics that are of interest to our audience. And today we are talking about backlinks. So let's just cover the basics first. What is a backlink and why is it important? A backlink, which is also known as an inbound link, is simply a link to your website from another site on the internet. Now, obviously, links are useful for users when they're surfing the web, but they're also used by search engines as a strong ranking factor. Our friends at Page One Power have called them a virtual handshake. A link is seen by search engines as a vote of confidence for the page. And they're also used by search engines to help determine the topic of online content. Links from high quality websites that are relevant to the content on your site can improve your rank in search engines, which then increases organic traffic to your site. While search engines do now use hundreds of different ranking signals, backlinks are still the most powerful single factor. So it's important, though, when you think about that, to keep in mind that the quality of the link matters, and that quality is based on both the authority of the site that links to your site and how relevant their content is to your content. Now, our research has shown that most content online gets less than 8 shares and even fewer backlinks. One of our founders looked at 1 million posts and found that 75% of them had 0 links from referring domains. So 75% of 1 million posts had not even 1 link from a referring domain. I think it's pretty clear that it's hard to get shares and it's even harder to get backlinks to your content. So I'm hoping that today we can make that a little easier for you. We're going to be talking about 2 ways to rise above the vast majority of content and get some backlinks to your site. Essentially, it's a 2-pronged strategy. The first and most effective approach is to focus on creating content that is linkable. To get backlinks, you have to have content that people actually want to link to. And the second step that I'll talk about in just a little bit is how you can actively pursue those linking opportunities. So here's what our research has shown about the types of content that is likely to get links. It is, first of all, serious opinion-forming journalism. And when you think about that, you want to think about the types of pieces that you get from the New York Times, Harvard Business Review, or The Atlantic. It's also new insight that is based on in-depth research or evergreen content. Now, what I mean when I talk about evergreen content is content that will appeal to people for a long period of time. It's not just of the moment or very trendy content, although I do think that there is a place for trendy of the moment content in your content mix, but evergreen content is something that people will still be interested in a year from now. It might need to be updated, but the topic will still be relevant. Long form content, and by that I mean more than 1,000 words, is much more likely to get links, as are list posts, especially long form link posts. And I'll show you an example of a long form link post, or a long poem, a long form list post in just a moment. And another type of content that is likely to get links is why posts. That's content that answers a question by telling your reader why something happens. Now, I want to give you a couple of examples of these types of content. This first, How to Win on Facebook, is a post that was written by Neil Patel at Sprout Social. It's based on research that was done by one of our engineers at BuzzSumo. He looked at 1 billion Facebook posts. Now, this summary of our research is just 1/100th, so 1% of the content posted at QuickSprout since February 2016, but it accounts for 14% of the backlinks to that site. Now, obviously, this type of content is time-consuming to produce, but the results in terms of driving organic traffic are really valuable. Here's another example of this type of research-based post. It's a piece at cancerresearchuk.org into research between processed meats and cancer. Now, this post has driven 12% of the links to the site since it came online, but it's less than 1% of the content on the site during that same time period. So definitely, it's really driving a lot of links compared to all the content on the site. Another type of post that I think is worth looking at a little bit more is how to use list posts to drive links. And this is an example of a list post that is devoted to the 200 ranking factors that Google takes into consideration in ranking sites. Now, Brian Dean, who wrote this post, has said that he created it after realizing that many posts that talked about ranking factors for Google would refer to the number of them, but not list them all. So it's a list post, but it's not your 5 ways to do this or that. It's complete, it's thorough, it's a good example, I think, too, of the dance between an evergreen topic and the need to update posts that are evergreen to keep the information itself current. This post itself has been updated recently in April of 2016. So having looked at a couple of examples of posts that are more likely to get links, let's take just a second and think about what's less likely to get links. Short form posts are less likely to get links. So are quizzes and videos that are primarily entertaining. Think about the latest cat video you've watched. You may have shared it with some friends on Facebook, but you're probably not going to link to it in a blog post anytime soon. Another type of post that's not likely to get a link is a post that doesn't really include any new information. Posts that don't add to the conversation about a topic or push it forward and just repeat what other people have said are not really likely to acquire links. And another type of post that is not likely to get a link is an advice post that doesn't really have any serious research or study behind it. So let's take a second and just talk about the relationship between links and shares, whether or not there is one. Our research has shown very little, actually, that there's very little overlap between links and shares. People seem to share and link for very different reasons, so it makes sense that the types of content they share and link to would be different. Now, great answer posts, which we define as posts that are the best answer to a relevant question, have the potential to achieve both high links and shares. To create a great answer post, you need to first of all think about questions that are important to your audience, and then work hard to answer them thoroughly and completely. Best answer posts are the posts that you're going to refer to often because they explain perfectly the answer to the questions that matter to you most. So here's an example of one of these best answer posts. It's the best answer to the question, what is content marketing? If you Google content marketing, this is the first post that will come up, and it has a tremendous number of backlinks, total of 957. So here are some tips if you want to create a best answer post. The first thing that you're going to want to do is answer a question that people care about. You can have a great answer to a question, but if no one's asking the question, it's not going to get a lot of links. You need to promise and deliver specific value. And a couple of ways to do that would be to demonstrate your authority and credibility. If you've done research, talk about it. Back up your assertions with case studies and examples. You might also want to give some time to consider how you're going to keep the post updated. If it needs updates, it might be good to decide on that schedule ahead of time. You'll also want to be comprehensive and complete, summarize clearly, structure the post well, and teach effectively. So those are some tips for developing best answer posts, which do have, we think, the capacity to earn both links and shares. Now I want to pivot away from talking about the kind of content that you need to have if you want to get links and begin to just talk about 2 specific strategies that you can use to get more links to your site. One of the best places to start is to identify links to your competitors. So you're going to begin with competitor research and outreach. You're going to want to determine who is linking to your competitors and then figure out which of those links is the best and follow up by reaching out to those pages to tell them about the content that you have that is worth linking to. Neil Patel recommends this strategy. He suggests sending a personal email along these lines. You might say, "Hi, I noticed that you have a link to site A." Then you would want to explain a few of the key differentiators between your site and site A. You want to tell them what you offer that the other site doesn't, and suggest that their readers would also like your site. Then ask for the link. It's important, though, to keep this all very low pressure and affirm the value of the linking site to you personally. Now, using this strategy with relevant sites has a 3 to 7% conversion rate for Neil. When he reaches out to relevant sites, that's the conversion he gets as far as new backlinks. Do keep in mind that being personal is key, and also keep in mind how important it is to see link building as part of the relational work of influencer outreach. BuzzSumo is one useful tool for identifying links to your competitors' sites. In the content research section of the site, which is what I have open here on the screen, you can just enter the name of a competitor's domain. I'm using Social Media Examiner here. They're not really a competitor, but they are well known in content marketing. When you give us a domain, BuzzSumo will search for backlinks to the site, and we return the results ordered so that you can see the articles that have gotten the most shares first. But once you have that list, you can do a little further research to determine which of the domains that links to your competitors' sites has the most link power or domain authority. Now, I suggest using a combination of the Moz ranking system, which you can access via a free Chrome extension, and the site's Alexa score. So you can see those here for Social Media Today. Social Media Today, as you look at the right of the screen, has a really nice Alexa ranking. If Alexa is new to you, it's the type of scale where 1 is the best number. So the closer you get to 1, the better. And if you're new to MozRank, I would suggest looking for sites that have a domain authority of more than 40. In this case, Social Media Today has a great domain authority. It's listed as DA at 83. So that's a little bit about how to do competitor research. You want to find out who's linking to their sites, determine which of the sites that link to your competitors have the highest authority, and then reach out to them in a positive, friendly way and ask for a link to your site. Another technique that I want to suggest as a way to kind of grab the low-hanging fruit of the backlink world, and it's one that we especially love at BuzzSumo, is to follow up on unlinked mentions to your site. An unlinked mention is a positive mention of your brand or product in a site, but the mention does not include a link to your website. These unlinked mentions represent a great link building opportunity. It's simple to find them with a tool like BuzzSumo. Our link or no link indicator will appear in any brand alert about 24 hours after you set the alert. And that's what you can see circled here in red on the screen. To set up an unlinked mention system, just go to the monitoring section of BuzzSumo, which I have circled for you here, and set an alert for your brand. We can let you know when someone mentions you, and we'll clearly show you which of these mentions also includes a link. If there is a mention without a link, you reach out to the author or the publisher to ask if they would add a link to your site. Now, I would suggest looking for contact information on the post or site itself, or sending an @message to the author. One of our directors worked on following up on mentions to BuzzSumo that didn't include a link, and he was able to get 200 new links to our site in just 1 month's time. His response included thanking people for mentioning us, offering any help with future posts, and then asking for the link. Obviously, getting 200 new links was a great response. And this is basically a simplification of another approach to link building, which was finding a respected site with content similar to yours and asking them to write about and link to you. With this list of unlinked mentions, you're able to eliminate 75% of that work because these sites have already mentioned you. Now, you can use BuzzSumo, like I showed you earlier, to quickly identify new links to your site and set up an email to notify you every time you get a new link. It's a great idea to look at this list and be quick to send a thank you note to the sites that link to you. Speaking of the etiquette of link building, I just wanted to take a second to remind you to think about this as a relational process. It's easy to kind of get pulled into wanting more and more automation of the process, but I think it's really best to think about this as a relational process and always keep in mind that it's important to be helpful and to be grateful. So, as a quick summary, and then we'll stop and take some questions, you want to create linkable content, which means you need to focus on doing original research, being the best answer to customers' questions, work on creating evergreen long form content, and then do some research into what sites are linking to your competitors, reach out to them, and follow up on those unlinked mentions. All right, we do want to stick to our time, so I wanted to thank you again for joining us for just a quick look at tips for building backlinks. I'm going to ask my colleague James, who is one of the co-founders of BuzzSumo, to join us. He is going to be helping to answer some of your questions. James, can you hear me?
Hey Susan, yep, I'm here.
Hey,
Hopefully you
James,
can hear me loud
welcome.
and clear. Great. Yeah, I just wanted to say sorry to everyone for any technical issues we've been having throughout the webinar. I know several of you have sent questions in saying you have problems with sound and audio. Seems like GoToWebinar's having a bit of a bad day today. But we've recorded the whole session, so I think we'll be able to share it with everybody afterwards, and hopefully with the slides as well. So just to start, have a look through some of your questions here. So we've got one question from Richard who says, can you speak more to posting videos? I know they have higher engagement and shares, but are they really that bad for backlinks? I think it's perhaps not that videos are necessarily bad in themselves for backlinks. It's really just comes down to the content. So it could be that you've, for instance, done a really good research piece. We've known that those pieces tend to get a lot more links, and you've put a lot of that content in a video. I would expect that video to get a lot of links. So it's not that videos are bad. I think it's just that a lot of video type content that perhaps is, silly cat videos and more trivial stuff that might do well getting shares isn't always as research based and informative. So it doesn't necessarily attract the links. So hopefully that answers your question there. So someone's asked, hey, I couldn't find the Moz Chrome extension. So I think we can probably send out a link to this after the webinar as well. But if you go into the Chrome web store and then type Moz, I'd imagine that should come up. Jamie says, thanks, beautiful, excellent. Thank you so much, Susan, that was great. Sorry, quite a few questions from you guys here, so just try and clear through them. Okay, so Natalie said, I've heard that Google is making backlinks less and less important every day because they can be so easily manipulated. Can we get penalized by Google for having too many backlinks? I would say no, you can't get penalized for having too many backlinks, but you could certainly get penalized for having too many bad backlinks. So I think, as we mentioned, the key is really just to focus on the high authority, non-spammy, genuine links that are relevant. And I don't think you have a problem. You can never have too many backlinks though. Janet says just a little feedback. Thank yous here. Thank you guys for coming. So Eric says, should your links back always go to your front page, or do you go target specific pages within your site? I think it's really important to keep a natural link profile on. So you shouldn't ever try and encourage links that perhaps look too unnatural, because that could be a sign to Google that you're perhaps trying to game the system a little bit too much. So generally, I'd say links should probably go to your homepage. But of course, if you've created a piece of content, it's very likely that people are going to link to that. So it just comes down to, again, if the links look natural and they are natural, then I don't think it really matters either way. But most of the time we get linked to, it's just on the homepage. I know people are just referencing BuzzSumo. And I think that way the link juice will flow down to the other pages eventually. So Carissa's asked, what kind of advice would you give to a law firm when so many people are hesitant to link to you? I think it's difficult to create. It's harder, at least, to create really good content in, I guess, what you'd call a dull industry. Sorry, I'm sure you probably don't appreciate law being called dull, but this is a common challenge, I think, trying to produce interesting pieces that are in boring industries. But perhaps more so for link building versus sharing, it's not so much of a challenge. I think the difficulty in trying to get stuff that people share, as you know, it tends to be more viral-based content, whereas there's nothing stopping you as a law firm doing some original research, something that's going to be interesting to other lawyers. If you just put yourself in, kind of think from your perspective, what kind of sites and what things would you link to? And have a look at, like Susan outlined during the webinar, what are some of the pieces of content that your competitors are getting the best links from? So it's just about competitive analysis and just trying to think perhaps what you would link to since you are in a law firm. So Nadia's asked, I noticed that sometimes the no link tag is attributed to articles that may not have a link on the term of the term being mentioned. Okay, it's quite a long question here, Nadia. So if I could ask you to email that one in, just since it's quite specific about a feature within BuzzSumo, to help@buzzsumo.com, then we'll probably be able to get back to you a little bit better there. Sam says, thank you. How can we add backlinks and where, from Ash K? If you could perhaps elaborate the question a little bit there, Ash K, that might help me a bit. So Daniel's asked, can you encourage inbound links by posting content to social media? So I think absolutely, of course, share your content to social media. Effectively, you're just getting more eyeballs on the content. I suppose this comes back to having that right balance of stuff that gets shared a lot, which is going to help generate just general awareness and get your content in front of a lot of eyeballs to get people onto your blog, subscribed on your blog, to check out your service for the first time, versus getting it in front of the right people who have the ability to give you that link. So you do need a balance of content, I think. You need the stuff that's going to get shared a lot, just to generate awareness and get your name out there. But you also need content that people want to link to. So what about backlinks for content that is not in English? Also do not show up on the Moz Open Site Explorer. As far as I know, Moz Open Site Explorer should crawl all content regardless of the language, and it's the same in BuzzSumo. We have content from all different types of languages. So I'm not sure what specifically you're referring to there. Perhaps if there's any issues with BuzzSumo, then by all means write in. So Robert's asked, do backlinks from Facebook, Twitter, and other social media count as backlinks to Google? Are they nearly as valuable as, say, links from reputable sites? So I think just purely in terms of link value, the links you get from Facebook, Twitter, and social media are pretty much worthless, I think. I think Google might crawl them and use it as a way to find new content, but I don't think it really gives you any of that link juice that you're after from a really reputable site. So I think you should just view social media links as a way, for actual humans to find your content, and perhaps maybe it might encourage it to be indexed in the first place. But your focus really needs to be on getting links from, high domain authority, reputable sites.
James, how about if we take one more question so people can kind of finish up with the webinar in a timely way? Would you mind to just do one more?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just have a quick look through. Sorry to all the people who asked a load of questions here. There's so many left, but obviously such little time. So I'll just find a good one. So Sarah's asked, is a shorter pitch better? Any tips on the best way to craft a pitch when asking to link to your content? I really think this is just something you need to keep continually testing. It's probably going to be different for every industry, and every different writing style is going to have a different effect. So I think it's just something you need to keep testing yourself. Really, it's too hard just to give one general template. And I think perhaps the more you get away from general templates, they've been posted on some blog somewhere, probably hundreds of people have seen those already, so it's not very likely they're going to work that well. So I think the key is to be original and just keep testing. Cool. So should we end things there, Susan?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much for taking all those questions. You definitely did
No problem.
a very good speed round there. One thing that we want to offer to our subscribers is if you are interested in talking with us more, maybe you had a question that we didn't get to, and you'd like to set up some sort of strategy session with BuzzSumo, we'd be happy to set up a backlink session for you. So just I'll put this in the follow-up email and tell you how to get in touch with us. But keep in mind, we're here to help. And if we didn't get to your question now, we'd love to help you via email. So thanks again for your time, everyone, today. We appreciate you bearing with the technical difficulties at the beginning. And James, thanks so much for being here and taking those questions. Have a great
No
day,
problem.
everyone.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.